And for us, it's now almost 8 p.m. evening, and we are in Kenya. Of course, many of you ask where I'm coming from, and that is why I have to remind you that I'm from Kenya. This is Prissy for you, and I really appreciate your presence on my channel. During the day, I only managed to work on two videos in, just one after another, okay? Because I didn't get time to do that during the day, and of course I have to rest so that I proceed with my work. So I really appreciate your presence all the time, and of course with your contribution. Good evening, welcome, and thank you for being top fan number one. I really appreciate. Thanks for the lots of love you show on my channel as you come here. Now, currently, of course, I'm creating this content sometimes while standing on all that, just because of the new setting from where I'm working, and of course, I have to go on. They always say that you have to show up for yourself every day. When you begin content creation, you cannot skip a day, you cannot skip an hour. You have just to continue working. Kate says, I just unpinned. Why? Why did you unpin? So we are just checking into the news, and politically, we have a lot of stuff that is happening, and I don't just understand what's happening. And with people coming up with the sagas, and as you realized yesterday, I asked why Kalonzo is coming up to dig the past ghosts. Remember, Ogolla actually, passed on long ago, and even though there were stories surrounding his death, we forgot about it and we are moving on. Decided to come up with a very funny story, and we'll be getting to it as we analyze down in today's political stuff before we get to the social ones. Kate, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your presence. Thank you so much. So let's start with that aspect of Kalonzo Musyoka, because of course, over the weekends, you remember during the burial of Beryl Acheng, that is when Kalonzo Musyoka spoke in Bondo. And after he did speak, we saw a lot of responses from other people, even from different venues like Opio and I, among others. And of course, some of them were indicating they don't hate Kalonzo Musyoka, but they hate the allies around him, while others indicated that he has no right to speak about some things, or rather to question for accountability, because during his time, he never worked for it as equally as, Eugene. So anyway, what has come out is that Kalonzo Musyoka did speak about something in relation to Ogolla's death. And those were very, blood-curdling evidence, or rather information that has shaken the country. We don't just understand maybe why he had to talk about it. Kate asks whether we've had elections. Of course, we had by-elections just for the seats of those people who passed on or were picked. And of course, remembering that Mbere seat was one of the places where we had by-election, Malava, because of the death of the MP, and many other places, including Kaspul, Narok, Banisa, and the rest of them. So elections, the main elections will be coming in 2027. So, of course, campaigns are ongoing, and that's why you've seen a lot of politicians, including the incumbent president, among other leaders, going around the country, talking to the people, trying to, lay their strategies and listen to the ground. They always say, what politicians do, they want to understand what people really think, and then they'll go ahead and use the same ideas to campaign. So let's get to hear about Kalonzo Musyoka. Of course, he spoke about it somewhere. Apiasha, of course, I remember you, though you really disappeared. I don't know why. Kate says the one who visited people. Who was that? Let me know. Kate said the one who visited people. Let me understand. Who is this that visited people? Puya says, I'm having an exam. And of course, you said you are going to sit for exams. And we wish you success in your exams as you go on. Because we normally understand that studies are something different, and when it comes to exams, it's something equally different. And most people, of course, have exam fevers, others have a normal situation, but it is what it is. So you give yourself the best, and of course, thrive through it. I wish you well in your exams, okay? Apuya, Africa will never unite is saying, what is the difference between exams and tests? You know, it just depends, because some tests are placed under exams, while, the exam may include some tests. But tests can be variety, you know. Evaluation, of course, we know we have summative evaluation and we have formative evaluation. And when we have these varieties of evaluations, then we actually establish whether we are doing tests or exams. But examination, it's just a word that is used to talk about tests in, a different time. We have exams that come at the end of the term. There are exams that go on in the middle of the term. But I think both of them are conducted as evaluations, a process to check on the understanding of students, and sometimes they are meant to actually allow you move from one level to another, whether it is from high school to university or all that. So thank you so much. Kate says scams are important. Oh, so scams are important in politics. That's why we are seeing Kalonzo Musyoka coming up with them. And also the other day we had a lot from Malala. Then Pietman, lots of love. Thank you so much. Welcome to the channel. Africa will never unite is saying, what scams are important? Kate said that, so maybe you can ask her, let her explain to us, and we'll get to know. Pietman Gusen, this is Thailand, right? Kate says exams. Oh, okay. So you mean exams are important? Of course they are. Exams are very important. They enhance understanding where you're coming from and where you're going to, as well as how far you can actually deal with the content you've been studying all along. Africa will never unite now says, oh, okay. All right, so because I thought maybe since I'm talking about political matters and we've just had Kalonzo dropping a scam, then possibly they were referring to, she was referring to scams. But anyway, I understand, Kate. Thank you so much for your contribution on the comments. So let's get to see what Kalonzo Musyoka shared, and we also get to see why he did share, and maybe the views in relation to what people think. So this is the information that was shared by Kalonzo Musyoka. I just want us to get to it.
Because the commander-in-chief that time told him. Was taken out, a member of this community. As you stand by that state, we are going to have to interrogate every circumstance. General Ogolla was taken out, a member of this community. As you stand by that state, we are going to have to interrogate every circumstance so that as men and women, brothers and sisters in Luo Nyanza, in every part of the country, we will be led by the Raila vision. Never, never betray what our brother Raila stood for. And therefore that there is
all right. So before I really go on, this was something that Kalonzo Musyoka student said in the funeral of Beryl, and she focused on coming up with a kind of saga on the president. You remember General Ogolla's death was something that was really talked about, and of course that time there were people who were asking why he had to die the way he did. Of course these are ghosts that are being dug because these are political times, and of course if at all there is something that Kalonzo Musyoka knew, now he's coming to unravel it. Somebody has just dropped a comment saying that the Luos don't know that they are being fattened so that they are prepared for slaughter. That's what we do to animals. That's what we do to cows and all that. So somebody dropped that comment in relation to the fate that is facing the Luo people just after Ogolla died. And then, of course, we saw now recently Baba dying. Of course, for those who don't believe that, they say that was just death because of old age. I do not know where you stand. Maybe you can share your thoughts, and let us know what is coming out. So why did Kalonzo Musyoka actually have to address such matters when he went to Bondo? And after he did that, of course, some people feel like he was trying to incite them, or rather to pull them into Wiper and kind of conduct a propaganda that would actually collect the ODM members who may be feeling like him to join the united opposition. I don't know, maybe possibly there are those who will be moved to join him, but there are those who still feel like they should have they should have the government in hands. Kate is saying the one visited people is dead. Uh, who is that? Oh, yesterday the MP you talked about. Yesterday I did a video on the MP who had an accident and another one who had died. And I saw Kate saying the one who visited people. I get it now. I understand. So let's move ahead and listen to this. Kalonzo Musyoka is now unleashing this dragon, and I don't know whether he can risk arrest. Of course, a lot of bloggers normally do share that. We've seen a lot of times when Cleophas Malala speaks, or maybe Gachagua speaks, people say that he's risking to be arrested. And we have not seen an arrest anytime soon or later. So, of course, we have to go back to history and check in some of the videos that will have to tell us about what happened in past. Do you think Kalonzo Musyoka is giving a genuine story? Why did he take so long to share? Because this is a story he could have shared then, not now. But anyway, let's get to understand why he's sharing and what he's sharing from understanding maybe a report, or rather an interview that the president conducted in person. And now let's check in this.
Try on overturn my victory. Do you know that? But because when I looked at his CV, he was the best person to be general. I called him and I sat him down. I told him, my friend, you went to Bomas to try and overturn. You are the best person to be general. I'm going to give you the job. That is how it works with me. That's why I told you, if a person has the qualification, if he is the best for the job, I will give him the job. But that is the military. There is a code of conduct for the military and how politics works in Kenya, Mr. Let me tell you, my friend, I had the opportunity. I could have appointed anybody. I had, I think, 10 choices. I didn't have to. I made the decision consciously. And I made the decision against the advice of many people. Many people told me, you should not give this, you should not reward this kind of behavior. But, I also must be sensitive. What exercised my mind? This gentleman has a good track record.
All right, guys, so let's get to understand this. If I am not getting it right, now you realize that actually Ruto has been hiring and firing lots of people. Okay? And one of them is JB Muturi. Of course, the impeachment went with Gachagua, and there are so many others. I don't have to mention the list. If you have, maybe if you check on my other videos, you realize that there's a list of them. Now, the story of Ogolla comes back because of Kalonzo Musyoka. And during the time Ogolla died, it was very much questioned because he didn't want to go where he left for, but he finally had to go. Now, Kalonzo Musyoka comes with a story and says that the government actually wiped out one of their own. Is this a story actually to let maybe the people of ODM and many other Nyanza people to follow him? Or actually, sometimes when your wound is healing and somebody, touches it, you will really feel the pain. And possibly that is a strategy that Kalonzo Musyoka is using to actually unleash the dragon on the people from Nyanza and make them understand that the pain they went through is not going to an end, and also warn some of them who are not careful about their lives that things might not be very safe with them, because currently I think one of the places where really Ruto is camping a lot of times is Nyanza. He's been seen even on corridors of Homa Bay preparing fish with Gladys Wanga and all those situations. Now you realize that ODM has only few individuals, particularly Babu Owino, who does not really want to budge. And recently there was a blogger who used AI, and remember AI, guys, is one of the trickiest situations that is happening currently. And it is improving every day. You can make one AI video and it looks like real. So there was a video that was really viral, I think it was 2 days ago, where somebody had decided to set Babu in the State House, sitting close to Ruto. Now, do you understand what was happening there? Somebody was trying to make it happen as if Babu has met Ruto. And of course, some reactors wanted to go and react on it. But this is an impression. Realize that these political people know very well channels that are very, popularly watched, and they can actually use this kind of people plus bloggers to drop videos, or rather AI pictures that can really confuse the minds of the people. Now, somebody just dropped a comment, said that when King David wanted Uriah dead, he set him in front of the army, a position of a commander. So Ogolla had to be at the helm and exit position. Okay, so the reason as to why Ogolla died, and in relation to what Kalonzo Musyoka said, is being insinuated as bringing him close to the government so that now he can be given an exit. Others have said body language speaks. Of course, when you look at that video when Ruto was being interviewed and you hear what he said, that's what people are saying. And others just said, but God is watching. While others said, Luos are being fattened for slaughter, and yet they don't see. Somebody said Ruto decided to appoint General Gola as the CDF to keep him close to him so as to eventually eliminate him. Who knows? Maybe possibly we will be getting the story as it unravels, because the scam has just come up when Safaricom saga also is traveling in air. Of course, today Gachagua at Ruai decided to talk about that matter and indicated that Ruto had sold Safaricom to himself. Remember, Safaricom is one of the major companies in Kenya, and if they decided to sell almost 80% of it and remain with just 20-something%, that's unfortunate, right? A country wouldn't have done that. Remember, this is one of the companies that is controlling communication in Kenya. Why would it be sold at such a moment? This is a company that is actually enhancing payments of so many things, and also data, among other things. So if Safaricom is promising that they won't lay off the workers, and at the same time the services will be maintained, but who knows, because if the rumors about selling Safaricom to himself are real, then I'm really shaken about what will be happening. But anyway, let's just listen to something, let's listen to something from Ikonini podcast just before we get to Babu's story. Of course, I'm running through those three. We are already 18 minutes down the line, remaining around 40 minutes before I can come up with another video. So let's check here.
Kuna two headlines za The Standard zile nilifind zikiwa interesting sana. So kuna headline ya leo asubuhi. So headline ya leo asubuhi inasema wildebeests blockade. Then kabaki imeendelea iko like the rhythmic thunder of hooves that marks what many regard as the eighth wonder of the world. The annual wildebeest migration in the Masai Mara may fall silent. This follows a presidential directive allowing a hotelier, the Ritz-Carlton, to erect structures within the migration corridor. A move experts warn could disrupt the fragile ecosystem. Conservationists are beside themselves with consternation as they seek court orders to halt a calamitous decision that offers only short-term financial gains for a handful of powerful government figures. So,
all right, guys. So when you check on that, I don't know whether you are aware that wild beasts have been one of the enticing things to the tourists. But unfortunately, our government has decided to actually allow people to build hotels around the passage. That is where the wild beasts normally cross over in Masai Mara, the Ritz-Carlton. So this becomes a serious scandal in the government, because what does it matter really? But anyway, sometimes people just care about the short-term benefits or something that will benefit an individual, but forget about what can benefit a whole nation. So if wild beasts are going to be affected in Masai Mara, what will be the more attraction for tourists? That is my question for today. I'm dropping it as we go on to the next thing. And of course, the next thing that has really attracted the eye, as I've said, is that Ogolla story. I've already talked about it. And then we get to this aspect of gold in Ikolomani. And when you look at gold in Ikolomani, I don't just see why it is becoming such a serious scandal that people have been displaced, actually, and not compensated yet. And of course, Atwoli somehow is being used to really push these people so that gold can be sold off. And the beneficiaries will not be citizens of Kakamega. Of course, it will be people who understand where this gold is being exported, because the people in Kolomani themselves know that gold is important or valuable, but do they have a market? They don't have connection or network to it. And of course, you can see the government is trying so much to forcefully control it. That's why Halwale has really become a nuisance to the government. And possibly we may not really like Halwale, but at this point, he is right actually to defend the rights of Ikolomani, because that's where he, he survives from. I've been living in one of the mineral environment that is Taita Taveta, and the owners of land most times don't benefit from those minerals, because people who understand the value of it and have network on where to sell, they kind of come, they cheat these people into giving away the land, or sometimes even the government can forcefully take it, because they always say that land belongs to the government. And now once that is taken, you will actually not see the benefits. Now let's just look at another story that came up in Standard, and this was it. The story was about the gold, and it was saying Kenya is exporting a staggering 42 tons of gold to the UAE in 2025, and increase nearly 13 tons from last year, despite officially producing just over 1 ton annually. The discrepancy has raised fresh fears of the thriving smuggling network, with Kenya allegedly serving as the transit hub of gold originating from South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, and possibly Ethiopia. This is not the first time the country has been implicated in smuggling. The infamous gold bag scandal of the 1990s, as well as repeated protests from the DRC at the highest levels, have long suggested that Nairobi is a conduit for illicit trade. So you can see the figures right there, and our president pinned there. So guys, sometimes I just don't understand, and of course I see people sometimes who have been just middle class people, but they wake up when they are so wealthy and affluent with a lot of property that you may not even understand its origin. So guys, if I tell you that it's out of these illicit businesses, let's say money laundering, gold exports, even drugs. You know, I've lived in Mombasa for quite a long time, and I used to see, I used to sense, or rather even hear from the police sharing that there is a lot of drugs and all that. And of course, there is a time I saw also on the borders of Tanzania to Kenya on Taita Taveta end, and even Lunga Lunga, there's a lot of drugs actually being channeled into the country, and Kenya now becomes a reception and also an exit. So they come from other countries, they bypass Kenya and go elsewhere. And these have become benefits for so many other people who are connected to it. We have people who are actually indirectly connected to this kind of business, and that is why it bypasses through Kenya. You know, now can you imagine that we don't already have exportation of a lot of gold? And of course, there was a saga recently around the gold in Ikolomani. And so far it has been not sorted, but we have seen clashes that are happening among leaders, because the leaders on top don't want to listen to those below. And there are specific people who have realized that that gold is going to benefit them as individuals. And that is where our problems start. If you realize the Oxfam report currently recently talked about some 125 people owning almost what so many millions of Kenyans should have. And this is how it happens, because these people are highly connected. They export maize, they export gold, they export what have you, because they have accepted to be a channel through which such gold can come from other countries and illegally bypass our nation and are taken to wherever they are supposed to be. So it's unfortunate for our country, but it's happening. It's happening, guys. Now, of course, away from that, let's check on something else here.
When you have the perfect response in your head, but your fingers just can't keep up. We've all been there. Typing, deleting. Vote for President William Ruto ahead of the 2027 general election. So tushaanza kuinvestigate ku campaign for 2027, and it's close to 2 years before, well, like ahead of the elections. About 2 years, what? Kizungu imenipotelea. I'm there thinking, like, 2 years to the elections. If you're part of the government, you could be convincing us through action on why we should re-elect the government. But we want to ask KALONZO if you have any information that might have led to the death of Mr. Ogolla, please report to the police and DCI, give that explanation. Mtu mwenye aliua akamatwe. Really interesting, like I said, of course the police can never investigate anything that portrays the government in a negative way.
All right, guys. So, as I just said, Deal Plus, hello, welcome. Thank you so much. It's unfortunate that in our country, we finish elections and start campaigns. And even the president who is or currently an incumbent one, they don't really want to show their work through actions. They'll show through verbal discussions. Sometimes now they become even violent. And I don't know whether Africa or Kenya particularly will have a solution to this. I just wish that there was an injunction against the leaders who are currently in the government campaigning. And we've seen that they are competing equally with the opposition. Like, let me ask you one thing. Did you see how many officers during the moment of by-elections went around campaigning, when in reality, if you are working, you are not supposed to go live campaigning and even engaging in active, politics. Unfortunately, we saw a lot of them, actually MPs, governors, and all those people. They were highly campaigning, yet they are not supposed to. Some of them were even going to stations and conducting some ills, the wrongs, the criminal aspects in the process of the electoral, expectation. So it's unfortunate that in our country, people will keep campaigning. Now, it's also unfortunate that people come out to drop sagas when it's too late, or sometimes just because they don't want to look like they are not suitable in a given community. So the Kalonzo Musyoka story of the death of Ogolla having been undug possibly may bring a saga on him, because we have been seeing him as one of the people who is clean. And he may maybe think that whatever he said will be pleasant to some people. But it's unfortunate. In politics, if people decide to flow with the given vibes, it's because they are beneficiaries. And that is what I simply understand about Kenyan politics. Omozusio Sewengi, you say, how are you today? I'm so fine. How about you? I hope you are very fine. So, of course, Kalonzo and Gachagua came out to really destroy Ruto in their discussion today in Ruai. They stood on vehicles, said a lot. But anyway, I don't know how this is going to really, help. How is this going to help, or rather give us a platform into the future? That's what I don't understand. Okay, Omozosio says, I'm fine. Pietman Gusen is, okay, giving emojis there. Thank you. So let's get to the story of Babu Owino. And I wanted to ask you, do you think Babu Owino is the successor of Raila Odinga? Because currently, even though we have these rivals, the political rivals who are indicating that Babu is a self-declared leader, they feel like Babu is not supposed to occupy that space. They kind of humiliate him and sometimes even kind of want to show that he's a nobody or a minion. But still, you see the reaction of the young people and even in other places, and you realize that he still stands out. You know, like naturally he goes into a setting that people don't want to actually have him speak or even wave, and people automatically kind of react. And of course, he may not be in the same shoes as Raila Odinga, that we can agree. But then, of course, Raila Odinga did not wake up one day and become an accepted person in the community. That's the reality, and we have to accept that. But currently, if you look at all the leaders from Nyanza, who is it that is embracing a lot of people in different communities? If Babu comes to Western today, I'm sure that a lot of youth will listen to him. When he went to Mombasa during the 20th celebration of ODM, you realize that people insisted he must speak. And that is why Sifuna invited him to speak. He went to, I remember there was a given event in, was it Muranga? And really, people were so happy with him. You've seen him also in several events in Nairobi, and people are willing to have him, speak to them. At some point, he may be arrogant. He may also have some bad history, especially in terms of when you come to that guy that was shot in a hotel. But that was settled, right? And of late, we have been getting him talking and the young people demanding that he has to speak. Now, you remember during the funeral of Raila Odinga again, there was a blockage kind of at a certain time, but young people from Kondele all the way to Kisumu celebrated him. And some people are not so happy in ODM. They began to say he is becoming a self-proclaimed leader. I don't know what you think about this, because this is what we do in analysis and critical reactions. And I would actually wish that you drop your comments in relation to this. What do you think of Babu? Is he a self-proclaimed individual, or does he really stand out as a vibe maybe among the Gen Zs? And let's just get to some video here, just to let ourselves understand the nitty-gritties of this. So let me check on some part of this. Before we get to the information of Tanzania and the possible demonstrations that are being planned, let's check on this. All right. Omuzucisio says, where are you chatting from? Of course, I'm chatting from Kenya. I hope you've been watching me. If you are new, remember to subscribe to the channel. We still have to grow as a channel. Our target was 4,000, but time is moving very speedily. Let's see what will happen. So let's get to see this. So that was Babu arriving, and a lot of people celebrating.
December 6th, 2025, thousands assembled in Karamoja Bondo, Siaya County for the burial of Beryl Acheng Odinga, sister to the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. The event, held in the ancestral home of the Odinga family, featured tributes from political leaders and family members, including Oburu Odinga and Millie Odhiambo. Amid the proceedings, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino received notable attention from the attendees when acknowledged during speeches.
But I want a friend of mine to just wave where he is, because he's part of us. That's my friend Babu Owino over there.
All right, guys, so you realize that during that moment, even though the young people celebrated, but we have kind of political rivalry within that party, ODM. And of course, the last time the 20th celebration was being conducted in Mombasa, You saw clearly Babu indicating that maybe he's speaking for the last time and no leader will ever allow him to speak in any of the presentations. So he did say that while at Mombasa, and of course, we've been seeing that trend all along. And maybe I can pinpoint particularly this event and even the previous one, they never let him speak. And of course, you see that it's only Winnie that had to realize the temperatures of the young people and actually allow him to wave. Okay? But from the many perspectives, we actually begin to ask ourselves, is he the successor? And possibly maybe he's not being received back at home, but what about the rest of the nation? You may drop your comments. I've always seen maybe when I'm trying to ask around about the gubernatorial seat of Nairobi or all that, people have always commented about Babu, even when I'm not engaging in a discussion surrounding him. So let me just leave you with that question as we continue to look at the story of Babu Owino. And of course, there is a signal about the next leader, and I don't know whether he will be received, because sometimes it's about you are a leader and the reception you'll have. Would he be also received just as maybe Raila Odinga was received? Because currently, you look at Orengo, you look at who else? Oburu, look at Gladys, and these other leaders in Nyanza. They have no impact on the general part of Kisumu, because that is why you saw recently Gladys Wanga, people are rebellious and demonstrating against her in the entire series of Kisumu. You also saw at some point how much people talked about Oburu, especially when he took over this leadership. And there have been so many questions about him. So let's continue to look at this and see what happens here.
During the eulogies, Babu Owino prompting applause from the crowd. The response intensified when Raila Odinga's daughter invited him to stand and wear the suggested word unity. Attendees reacted with cheers, indicating support for Babu Owino in Nyanza, a region central to global politics. Babu later shared on social media his appreciation for the recognition, noting a perceived earlier oversight in the program. Coverage from various social media documented this as a significant moment, with the crowd's engagement reflecting Babu's growing influence beyond Nairobi County.
That's my friend Babu Owino over there.
Odinga delivered a tribute focusing on family and political unity. Her decision to highlight Babu Owino has been interpreted as support for younger leaders within only a party. This action occurred amid discussions of protocol, with some viewing it as a signal of alignment with Babu's approach. Winnie's involvement underscores her position as a key figure in bridging generational gaps in the party.
So, of course, you realize that when Winnie Odinga requested the mother to give her space to let Babu greet the people, it was a symbolic communication kind of that was revealing the importance of recognizing people like Babu Owino. I just don't understand why there is so much resistance against recognition of this guy when the young people are doing it. And I don't know whether maybe the older generation are frustrated and fear something that is not known, because it has been a squabble that has taken quite some while. And I'm not so sure when exactly this will be accepted, all right? But let's now move to Tanzania, because there is a looming coup, maybe possibly in the face of Suluhu Samia. So let's just check on Tanzania, guys. And of course, as the young people prepare to go to the streets, remember the saddening traumatic situations that we saw in Tanzania, and you actually wish that people go back, but it's being insinuated that the young people are ready to go back to the streets again in Tanzania, and I don't know how serious or how sure they are about it, because remembering the situation at Mwananyamala Hospital and many other places in Tanzania in the 2 weeks that concurrently happened, it is so saddening that maybe something like that would happen. So Watanzania mupo na mnategemea kwamba kutakuwa na nini Tanzania? Kutakuwa bado na michafuko wa mazingira, ama watu wameamua kwamba watatulia na hakutakuwa na kwenda katika malumbano pale mjini Dar es Salaam pamoja na kwingine pale Tanzania. Kwa hivyo kulingana na maelezo yaliyotoka sehemu mbalimbali za Tanzania, kuna mchafuko ambao utatokeza, na Suluhu ameshasema kwamba hatakubali, na tumeona kwamba polisi washasema kwamba pia hawatakubali mambo kama hayo. Tunaweza kuwakaribisha Watanzania, najua kwamba wengi wenu hamwezi kupenda tuzungumze tu Kiingereza, na wale wa kutoka Kongo pamoja na Rwanda pia kila wakati mnaniambia mnataka niwajulishe nikifika kwa habari za Tanzania niseme katika Kiswahili, na nitachanganya na Kiingereza kwa wakati ufahao. Kwa hivyo naweza kutafuta video moja ili tukaweza kuangalia, na ni jambo ambalo si la kuvutia sana kwa sababu tuliona mchafuko uliopita, kulikuwa na vifo vingi, tukaona damu, tukaona makaburi, jambo ambalo likufurahisha wengi wetu. Kwa hivyo jambo ambalo Tanzania wamefanya ni kwamba wameweza kuzuia watu wasiingie Tanzania, na wakuu ambao wanasimamia idara ya polisi wanakemea kitendo hiki. Kwa hivyo hatujaweza kuelewa kama tuseme kwamba labda wanajeshi wamejipanga vipi. Kwa hivyo tutapenda kwamba tuweze kuangalia na tuweze kuelewa jinsi mambo haya yanavyojitokeza. So my friends from America, welcome. It's happening that there is a loading coup in Tanzania, but possibly it may not be allowed. Of course, Suluhu said that the reason why they had to use a lot of heavy forces against the citizens was as a result of what was happening. They saw that a coup was forthcoming, and to deal with the situation as a country that wanted order, that's why they decided to shoot and even kill some of the citizens. So currently, as people prepare for the 9th, of course 9th is tomorrow, and that is the Tanzania coup is loading, as the young people still say they are going to the streets, they are going to demonstrate, they are ready to die, and they are going to defend their country. But of course, Suluhu said that she doesn't understand what the young people want, and she doesn't understand who is sending them and whatever they need. And one of the people, of course, the leaders around Suluhu said that the protests are being financed by Catholic Church and other leaders, of course, the opposition. And Suluhu kind of blames Chadema party plus other parties that are forthcoming in Tanzania for causing the fracas. She doesn't blame herself at any point. So let's just check on this. Let's check on the situation in Tanzania.
Stop editing videos manually in 2025. Try Halo AI now. No skills needed, no budget.
The first sign wasn't the sun before sunrise, and the question echoing across East Africa is Tanzania preventing chaos or preparing for something far darker?
Maandamano mengine yanayoandaliwa yanayoendelea kuratibiwa kufanyika katika kipindi hiki cha mwezi wa 12 tarehe 9 mwezi wa 12 mwaka huu. Taarifa hizo Jeshi la Polisi mkoa wa Mwanza tukishirikiana na vyombo vingine vya ulinzi na usalama tumezichukulia kwa uzito mkubwa sana.
The first sign wasn't the soldiers, it was the internet suddenly crawling, slowing to what activists call pre-shutdown speed. Then came the reports. Opposition figures unreachable, homes surrounded, activists abducted. Freeman Bowe's phone is off, his team unreachable. Influencers and activists report officers camping outside their gates for observation. In their words, quote, if we must march, we march. If the army blocks us, the world will witness it. The United States barred its staff from traveling anywhere in Tanzania on December 9th. Kenya's Tanzania's High Commission quietly advised citizens to prepare food and water for 2 weeks. Embassy messages show a pattern. 1. Avoid public spaces. 2. Expect shutdowns. 3. Stay indoors. 4. Stock essentials. The warnings hint at 2 possibilities. 1. Authorities expect confrontation. And 2. Something bigger.
Alright guys, so you've got it. In Tanzania from tomorrow it's expected that there might be confrontations between the police and the citizens. Away from that, there might be a lockdown that will not allow people to move from place to place, and there is danger because possibly while moving on the streets you might be shot, and that is why today they were actually warned to buy essentials and stay indoors so that they will not find themselves again in the mass graves. So, of course, Suluhu is not as somebody who is sorry for anything. When she came in, people thought that it was a relief from the previous leader and they were going to have a moment of a motherly president. But from what we've seen, of course, she comes about sometimes to speak some statements, but she does not seem to be remorseful about what has happened to the citizens. And it's unfortunate that she has not even accepted some things that have been done as a responsibility or something she was responsible for. She's only blaming the young people for going to the streets and also listening to sponsors whom she has not yet told us specifically. However, because we've seen the pointing of fingers to the Catholic Church and some of the opposition leaders, we guess that is where she's actually leading to. And she has said that she has to make sure that Tanzania is a stable country. So kulingana na Suluhu anasema kwamba anataka Tanzania ikuwe nchi ambayo ina amani, ambayo inaendelea kusimama, iwe wima kuliko majirani kama Kenya. Ameshasema kwamba Wakenya wamejulikana kuwa na vurugu na wao ndio walioanzisha vurugu kule Tanzania wakati kulikuwa na uchaguzi. Anasema pia kwamba wale vijana wa Tanzania walikuwa wanalipwa na hawakujua hata wanaenda kwenye mitaa kufanya nini. Walishtukia tu washafika mitaani na kisha wakaanza kutupa mawe, kuharibu vitu, na kama kweli walitaka tu kugoma basi ilifaa waende pale bila silaha, bila kuharibu vitu. Naye akasema kwamba alijali sana vile viliharibiwa na nchi itakuwa na shida kuweza kurudi pale ambapo walikuwa, kwa sababu Amerika sasa imekataa nini kuwapa misaada. So of course Suluhu just regretted that they are not being helped and is not actually interested in being remorseful about what happened. And she said that as a country that is focused towards being firm and standing on its own, especially because of the minerals that she claimed others are focusing on coming about and grabbing. She said that she's going to stand as the president and with her army, and there is no way she's going to allow anything close to a coup. So of course, let's wait for tomorrow, but it's a risky situation. Of course, I hope that the individuals who are currently in Tanzania, you will stay safe and avoid a lot of issues, because we can see that the bodies that were dumped or even in rivers and lakes and also buried in mass graves are yet to be discovered. And so stay safe in Tanzania, because the situation right there is not so safe even for you tomorrow. And as we wait to receive more information, of course, we realize that there's a lot of tension that has grown up in Tanzania. And by tomorrow, maybe things might not just again be fine for Tanzanians again, as a result of the loading demonstrations that were planned. And the young people, of course, the current young people who are called Gen Zs, we know their features. They are people who don't give up, and even if they see others falling, they say they are going for it so that they can save their country from the chains of that kind of dictatorial leadership. So let's hope for the best for Tanzania, but all in all, things are not so fine with the lots of people right there. And maybe drop a comment in relation to what I've shared along. Let's see what's
taarifa kwa niaba
ya
Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan, nasema wale watakaoruhusiwa kuwa nje ni wale wanaofanya kazi zinazowalazimu kuwa kazini. Serikali inawashauri wananchi wote ambao tarehe 9 Disemba 2025 hawatakuwa na dharura kuitumia siku hiyo kwa mapumziko, hivyo kusherehekea siku hiyo wakiwa nyumbani, isipokuwa kwa wale ambao majukumu yao ya kazi yanawataka kuwepo katika vituo vyao vya kazi kama ambavyo wataelekezwa na viongozi wao.
Maafisa wa usalama tayari wamewakamata zaidi ya watu 10 wanaokisiwa kuwa baadhi ya wale wanaopanga maandamano hayo. Kundi ya kutetea haki za kibinadamu wakitoa kauli yao jijini Nairobi leo na kushutumu serikali ya Rais Samia kwa kuwanyima wa Tanzania suluhu ya shida zinazowakumba.
Behind the facade of a poorly run election, Suluhu's regime has overthrown the constitution, weaponized state institutions to crush democratic demand, and engineered family rule.
Down with Samia, down.
Down.
Down with Samia, down.
Down.
Watanzania waungane wasiungane.
Waungane.
Watanzania wasimamie haki zao wasisimame.
Wasimame.
Makundi haya yakiungana na mengine Mombasa yamewataka maafisa wa usalama kutotumia nguvu wanapokabiliana na waandamanaji Jumanne.
As Kenyans and East Africans, we want to assure Tanzanians.
All right, guys, so that is it from our political reaction. Let me quickly move to the social reaction so that I can get time to sleep. And meanwhile, maybe you can drop your comments, continue liking the videos, subscribing and sharing more. Bye-bye for now.
Again to the root of today. It's one-on-one live coverage. Going to be coming to this kind of the position. I know much of the